welcome to Tibalt's Apprentice. We're going to be taking a look at a deck that is kind of loosely based on Saffron Olive's recent STAX deck. I, of course, didn't have all the pieces I need, but I'm just going to jump right in here. And right away we see there's nothing wrong with the shuffler. It's absolutely fine. Yeah. We'll just mulligan a couple of times. We'll get down to a few cards that we can use. And it really becomes apparent very quickly that, well, discard is not my friend. Actually, we want that Strict Proctor in our opening hand. I didn't get it this time, and we will suffer for it. Spoiler alert, I guess I should mention at this point. Anyhow, there's the Strict Proctor. It does come up pretty quick. What we're using, that combo of getting the Strict Proctor on the field and not having to pay for the Lotus Field, having to ditch those 2 lands so we can get a little bit head on mana. Now we can get a quick look into their hand and see what they have, which is only the Hero's Downfall. Not really the best pull that I could have gotten, I guess. So I have a chance here if I can get the Solemnity onto the field and not, well then of course get my 9 lives as I usually do. But they're not going to give us that chance because I have to discard right away. So luckily I got another Solemnity. We'll get that on the field before they can make use of that Phyrexian. Yeah, that's not good. Having to discard lots of permanents, I'm going to have to take the 5 points. All right, so this might buy me a little bit of time. I can whittle him down, and he can certainly sacrifice creatures to me if they want to. And they did. So that 2/1 sometimes comes back to bite us because now our spells cost a little bit more. But it's a fair trade-off. We know that we have STAX pieces of what we're playing, so that should slow them down, and we're prepared for it. At least we're supposed to be. Going ahead, swinging in. Since he's going to swing in with the Phyrexian Obliterator, there's nothing really that we can do about it. Let's get rid of that extra mana that they want. They're going to dig through their graveyard, and you see what they're going for. They're going for a discard strategy where I'm going to have to give up my cards to them. Yeah, bummer. Got him down to 8 though, so not bad for my first time out with this deck. I, however, am down to 5, and well, that's pretty much game at this point. So we will take our loss and move on. Now I do have a couple of cards to get rid of things. We'll get rid of the Phyrexian Obliterator. That coming through was either going to kill me or I was going to have to lose 5 permanents. Wasn't going to do that. Up to 5 permanents. Well, I guess it's how much damage I did to them. I maybe could have played this better. I don't know. I have to look back at it and see. Actually, if you have a suggestion in the comments of how I should have done better, let me know. Having to get rid of things and putting it back on their side of the table, not a good feeling, not a good thing. So, Strict Proctor's a little too late. There should be maybe some board sweepers in here. I have not modified this deck yet, beyond what you'll see in the list at this time. It is something that I will tinker with a little bit, but there's no point in blocking. I'll take the damage, I'm dead. Moving on to the next game. I always try to do 2 out of 3 games. I try to do 3 games in a row so you can see how the deck is performing. Lots of Strict Proctors in there. This time I'm going to mulligan down to 3 cards. Can you believe it? But it's a Strict Proctor, and that is the key to having this deck work. Getting that Strict Proctor out of the field so that they have to pay an extra 2 for their ETBs makes all the difference. Let's get this on the board right away. It will probably get taken out by a lightning bolt or something. Perhaps I'll bounce it back to my hand. But let's see what happens here. So even land coming into the battlefield doesn't trigger because of Strict Proctor. Since I bounced it back to my hand, I'll play it again. They didn't have the blue mana to counter it. Fair enough. That time they destroyed it. Well, what can you expect? I've got, I at least have, like I said, I have some removal. Even that removal, though, they can play around it if they have the mana for it. So, another Strict Proctor. That will at least slow them up and buy me a little bit of time. However, I'm going to have to keep that Strict Proctor on the field to actually buy the time. But let's get rid of that. It will no doubt come back. And indeed it does. But I'm feeling a little bit better with my 9 lives out. Once, I'm definitely going to take some damage, and they're probably going to unload their hand on me, getting me down to probably about 4. A couple of turns like that, and I'm easily dead, but having another 9 lives in my hand, if I could just get to Solemnity. It's a race to get to Solemnity at this point. How low can you go? We're going to find out. I do have an option of casting the Approach of the Second Sun if I can get to that 7 mana. The fact that I have hexproof, though, may limit their game plan a little bit. They did dump their direct damage spells on me to begin with, and so that not good, not looking good at all. Let's see what they have in their hand. That's the best thing I could do. Take a look, and there they go. They open up with at least more direct damage. It wasn't going to come at me anyhow, but yeah, it is a race for Solemnity. That is not Solemnity. I will spend the 2 mana. I'll put that on the battlefield, drop the Lotus Field, get rid of the 2 land requirement. At this point, I'm at 5 mana. I need to be at 7 to catch that second sun. We're at 6 at this point. I really have to get Solemnity because nothing else is going to help. Gaining more life isn't going to do anything because those counters that are on there are going to be what kills me. Luckily, they can't wipe the board, and there's the Solemnity just in time. Game over. Moving on to game 3. Let's see what we can do this time. I believe this is when the computer crashes on me. So, anyhow, after a quick mulligan or so, did I mulligan on this one? No, I got a Leyline in my opening hand. I've got my Strict Proctor in my opening hand. I draw into a Lotus Field, which is excellent, and then the computer goes down. So, we're going to resume the game immediately after I shut off the computer, bring it back up, and now we're back on board before we lose our turn and we go to something else entirely. So, drop my land for turn, and I think it's smooth sailing here on out. Well, it would be smooth sailing if we weren't suffering from loss of life. That is an easy way to get around 9 lives. Taking damage is different from loss of life. So, we're going to have to find a way to prevent them from using that cat oven. I've got to keep my Strict Proctor on the field, and we've got to get 9 lives on the field and see what happens. It's not the way this one goes. Okay, so I've got my land on the field. Don't have to worry about that. We'll swing in for 1. They're at 22. I'm at 16. Now this presents a problem because they can sack it to itself. If that Doom Foretold isn't dealt with, they're going to wind up with creatures, and I will lose things that are on the board. Much as I hate Planeswalkers, gonna have to deal with it. So, Doom Foretold, they'll get rid of one of their ovens, and instead forcing me to get rid of one of my ley lines. You can see how you gain incremental advantage with the Strict Proctor because it slows down their game plan. It gives me a little bit of chance of buying time. Don't mind getting rid of that because I can put a Planeswalker down. And the key here, I think, is to search for things with a lower mana value that I can get on the board here. So instead of actually advancing my game plan, I'm at least trying to stall them from their Doom Foretold. In the meantime, I'll take advantage of any damage that I can in the air and let them get rid of their oven. They can see that it's going to be a problem actually activating those things and having to spend 2 mana extra every time. So, this can't be good. All right. What did they go get? Maybe we'll see in a minute here. And at this point, I'm struggling to figure out how I'm going to win this. Interesting. So now they're going to put something that only costs 1 mana back on the field. And now I've got to deal with that again. Doom Foretold. Well, let's get rid of... I can get rid of the Doom Foretold, or I can... Actually, let me grab something else, another artifact, cheap enough to get on the battlefield that I can sacrifice. It's really a waiting game at this point. If I can outwait them and their plan, I will get rid of that because I don't want them bringing things back from the graveyard on a continual basis. And in the meantime, I'll hit one more time in the air. And Doom Foretold. They're at least having to deal with it. It's not one-sided. So that's buying a little bit more time. Until they get rid of my thing. Well, alright, fair enough. I don't mind getting rid of my Planeswalker because I've got another one. And that in turn lets me get another artifact for 2 mana or less, throw it on the battlefield, give me something to sacrifice next turn. I'd really like to be playing something else that would advance my game, that would advance my board state. It's just not happening though. So, with that in mind, they're really going to force me to, and take some damage. And, yeah, like I said, still got to deal with that Doom Foretold. It's doing a lot of work. But for 2 more mana, actually 4 mana, 3 mana. We'll go 3 mana this time. Let's get that onto the board. And if I can put things out faster than they can force me to sacrifice them, that's it. And just 1 more point of damage in the air. Let them get rid of their cat. And now... they're going back for that again, and they're going to bring something else. Well, let me throw this on the board. I played that prematurely. I should have waited until they were bringing their 1 mana thing back onto the board. Doesn't matter, though. And then my computer goes dead. So, anyhow, we'll take a look at this. The link is in the show notes. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please share this with somebody else. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.